I was 15. I was his niece. He needs to stay where he is and think a lot harder about what he has done and hope that nobody ever does the same thing to him. This is how I feel. This is how I'm thinking. It pisses me off that this is even a thought or an option right now. He has destroyed my life. I've been severely depressed in the past, and now I am even more. Please don't let this happen. And that's what she wrote to me.
You just heard from the mother of the survivor reading a letter that her daughter wrote, a 15-year-old autistic girl pleading with the parole board, please don't release this monster. Please at least wait until after I graduate high school. Now, it is this agenda driven district attorneys and judges that even allow this monster to be up for parole after serving a measly 1.5 years of his sentence. What's going to come out in this parole hearing is going to disturb anybody who doesn't have a PhD. This is one of the worst monsters that we have covered. And the idea that he's considered a low risk to reoffend, that he only has to register for 10 years after getting released, that he was only sentenced to 3 years and 9 months with parole eligibility after half of it is absolutely insane. Now, I'll unpack it with more details at the end. And as you listen to this hearing, you will hear things further that will shock you. Now, with that, let's jump in.
My name is Hector Quinones. My MA number is 447941.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Hector Quinones number 447941. He is serving a sentence of 15 years suspended after 45 months, followed by 15 years of probation for sex assault second. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of January 1st, 2026. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the short track sex offender program and the voices program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within a low range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low moderate range. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Well, before we begin with the question, I just want to state that English is not my primary language. And I'm not actually really good at public speaking, so bear with me. I also would like to know if you guys don't mind if I read from a statement that I wrote.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It says, to the honorable members of parole board, I would like to thank you for this time, this opportunity. I would like to say that I understand the gravity of my decisions today, and I do not take this opportunity lightly. I fully recognize that my actions cause harm to the victim and her family, and I deeply apologize for my actions. I'm ashamed for all the suffering, trauma, embarrassment, and shame that I have caused you and your family. The impact of my crime has weighed heavily on me, and I live each day with the knowledge of knowing the pain I created. I cannot undo the past, but I would not let it dictate my future. I can ensure that my future is defined by responsibility and respect to others. When I first got incarcerated, I got a ticket for refusing housing. I was trying to avoid a situation that was escalating out of control due to my criminal record. My time incarcerated has been a period of deep reflection, growth, and transformation. It has guided me to understand the importance of giving back not only to the community, but most importantly, to my family. During my incarceration, I have worked hard to become a better version of myself and to enable me to prepare for a productive future. I have enrolled in a Voc culinary art education program, which has strengthened my mind and commitment to lifelong learning skills that will increase my chances on employment. I have completed a mental health and voices program. I also took the initiative to take a program provided by CORE, that's a criminal offender reform establishment, a nonprofit organization. I've been taking correspondent Bible classes with two ministries, one from which I have 13 certificates of achievement, and the other a completion of 6 volumes with a total of 20 lessons. This has allowed me to strengthen my spiritual growth and praise for God. Alongside my education and programs, I have held full-time employment with DOC, balancing my responsibilities with perseverance and integrity, receiving good work reports from COs, LTs, and staff members. On my free time, I'm physically, mentally, and spiritually active, working out, playing sports, reading and studying my education work, Bible, and the spiritual books. These experiences has taught me the value of hard work and responsibility, lessons I'm eager to pass on to others. My greatest motivation is to be there for my mother and nephews, to nurture them, and to ensure they have every opportunity to thrive. If I'm granted parole, my 6-month plan will be employment, open a bank account, work on credit, get an apartment, pursue schooling for a trade, remaining a law-abiding citizen, and be the best version of myself for my Christian community, and my family. My support system will help me with housing, clothing, employment, counseling, education, and any other resources I need. Talking about employment, I have an associate, manager of a dealership. As manager, he also managed to hiring arrangements of several of the gas stations that the company owns. Where it is more realistic, he can offer me a position at one of the other gas stations than at the dealership directly upon my release. I'm ready to live as a law-abiding citizen, law-abiding productive citizen, I respectfully ask the board to recognize my rehabilitation and grant me the opportunity to continue this journey outside these walls, where I can contribute positively to society and, most importantly, be the son, uncle, and man of God my family needs. I again want to deeply apologize to the victim and her family. Thank you for your time and this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Quinones. We very much appreciate that you took the time to write out a statement to reflect on both your crime and your time incarcerated and the details that you provided with respect to both. And it was helpful to hear you apologize as well. So what's going to happen today is that we're going to take turns asking questions of you based on the documents that we had available to us, which include evaluations from your program participation, the police report, the pre-sentence investigation, the sentencing transcript, etc. Then after we're done asking questions, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services, at which time you can listen to what's being said but not respond. And then the three of us will discuss your case and make a decision and then share that with you. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to begin the questions this morning with my colleague, Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And certainly I want to associate myself with the comments that you just made. Because that was a really good statement that you gave us, and it was very informative. Answered a lot of questions. What we do is ask questions to get to more details about various aspects to find suitability here, right? The one thing that I would want to spend a little bit more time with here, you took the short track sex offender program.
Yes.
And what I'm interested in is, in that program, what did you learn? Were your risk factors? And what plan did you develop to deal with those factors if they present themselves?
You see, when I got incarcerated, I didn't understood the gravity of my crime and why was I being held accountable for what happened. It wasn't until I started going through the programs that I realized how I was the one to be held accountable, how my actions, at the end of the day, myself alone led to the crime committed. I learned how at first I was selfish, how I was minimizing and other things about the crime committed. And over time I also learned, like you said, about the risk factors. I learned to be able to target them, to be able to see where those factors started leading towards. Like again, I've learned to hold myself accountable for my own actions, which also involves me thinking ahead before acting, knowing that that it's not right to just go ahead and do whatever you please to do. Whatever I please to do, it's not right to go ahead and try to be breaking laws. It's not right. And I needed to learn to hold myself accountable for my actions, be responsible, and learn how to be productive and find healthy ways and goals to actually pursue and grow, grow spiritually, mentally, grow as a human being, as a man, to be a better version of myself. I have learned as well the impact that my actions created, that domino effect that just keeps leading. And I didn't understand this a while back, how someone's decision, someone's actions at the moment doesn't just impact that person alone, and I'm speaking about myself, but it impacts everybody that's around you, including the community, the victim, the family, my family, friends, and people I don't even know about. And it impacts each and every single one of us in a different way. And it leaves a toll. And I learned how big of an impact I've created for being selfish.
Okay, so you said selfish, but when we're coming to like risk factors, right? More specifically, right? What is it that what behavior or thought, whatever, that you engaged in was it that created that risk that you then acted on? Did you identify those in the program?
Can you repeat that again?
So what specific risk factors? So I understand your mindset You know, you did a great job explaining that and the impact on the victim and such, which is really incredibly important to understand. But what was it within you that caused this behavior to begin with?
Well, part of that is the drug and alcohol abuse, the lifestyle the toxic life that I was living. It was a very toxic life where I was being, I guess, clouded.
Okay. And so with that, you know, engaging in drugs and alcohol, and of course this was something that happened on New Year's Eve, right? So you were engaged in drinking and drugs, things like that.
Yes.
What's your plan to deal with that? You know, so that you can address that particular risk factor, right?
To begin with, I thank the Lord and I give him most of the credit for he has helped me to become a strong, better man and to break free from those addictions. Apart from that, I have a really good support system, and that's my family. And I can ensure that by also understanding that I hold myself accountable, you know, for my actions and all that, that I will be acting accordingly and avoiding any of those risk factors by any means necessary, and to have my family there to support me.
So the pro-social support from your family. Does your family, because we're at a New Year's Eve party, does your family engage in alcohol and things like that?
I got different. Okay, when I talk about my family, I talk the really inner circle, the ones that stay away from all of those things.
Okay,
my mom
so
is.
that's all right. That's good. So that I understand now that you have the inner circle that doesn't really engage in that. And
Yes.
Then you talked about the beginning there. You talked about. Are you talking about a faith community? That
Yes, my Christian community. Yes.
so involved in church and things like that.
Yes, out there. Yes.
Okay, and I know that when the DOC talked to you, your substance use score is a 1. However, you know, there's some background there with experimentation and other things, and of course, this crime involved substance use. So how are you going to address that? Anything further?
How am I? Can you repeat the question again?
Are you going to address any kind of substance use issue, doing anything else further?
Oh yes. I'm eager to whether if it's also in here as well as out there, to find programs that I could volunteer to and go in so that I could learn more and target this issue, such as, you know, drug and alcohol abuse, substance abuse, all those kind of programs. Speaking about that real quick, I did even I got a couple few requests writing to the program management and all that, stating that I was interested in trying to get into other programs so that I could learn more, so that I could, you know, grow and be more strong-minded person.
Okay. So do you think that if you picked up alcohol or drugs again, that could lead to behavior like you had here?
No, sir. I'm not planning on picking on drugs or alcohol.
I didn't say if you were planning on doing it. If you did, do you think it would lead to a situation like this again?
If I did, I don't think it would lead to a situation like this. No, to answer your question.
Okay, and so you understand even further, let's get to some issues with the victim, right? Does somebody who is 15 really have the ability to consent?
Can you repeat your question?
So do you believe that somebody who is 15 years old or younger, or even a little bit older, has the ability to consent when it comes to sexual activity?
No, sir.
And why is that?
They do not have the ability to consent because they're minors.
And we recognize the fact that with juvenile brain development and such, you have to get to a legal age in order to actually even consent. And it's still even debatable whether at that age somebody has the understanding to consent. But
Yes.
that's a really important understanding that you need to have, right?
Yes. Yes, sir. In parentheses, speaking about what you said, yes, even if the person is legal, I learned also that if you're drinking and all that, that doesn't, and the person might gives consent and all that, that's still not a valid approval of consent because the person is intoxicated already. So that's something I learned as well.
And that's some even deeper insight, right?
Yes, sir.
You laid out a really good, a deeper understanding than the interview with the parole officer in terms of your release plan and what you intend to do. That's an important thing. And you had a job here with a reputable company for about 3 years, right?
I'm sorry, was that?
You had a job with a reputable company for about 3 years prior to this, right?
Oh, prior to my arrest, yes.
Okay.
And before that, I just want to state as well before that, I worked at the Yukon Hospital for about 6 years, and I was doing it for about 5 years. I was doing 365 days a week. I had 2 jobs there. Just a little background to how my work ethic and employment has been.
Okay. All right. I appreciate, and you want to go out to a halfway house, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to see if, I don't know if it's there about my 2 choices.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, so it is. So, I appreciate you, talking with me this morning, and I don't have anything further, so I'm going to pass it on to other board members.
Thank you for your time.
So, Mr. Quinones, you have a standing criminal protective order against you until the year 2099, not expiring. You're aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what you understand that means?
It means not to come in contact in any way with the victim, whether physically in contact, messaging, calling, any source of contact.
Yeah, friend requests through social media. Mhm.
Anything. Yes.
Or third party, because you obviously knew the victim and the victim's family. So
Yes, that's a good one to point out. Yes.
thank you. So I understand at the time of sentencing that you denied the unlawful restraint charge. You didn't seem to understand why you had been charged with that. Do you understand that now?
If I understand why I was what exactly? Say that again.
Charged with unlawful restraint as part of the commission of this crime.
Unlawful restraint. What does that one mean?
Holding somebody against their will. Denying them the right to move about freely.
Yes. Yes.
What are you saying yes to?
That I understand a little more now. You know, what those charges meant and the action for why I was being charged that. Yes.
Okay. Because, before you were sentenced, you said that you didn't make any effort to keep the victim in the residence, but that was a contradiction to her report, that you locked the door, blocked her access to leaving.
Yes.
So, okay. So, when you accept responsibility, I want to make sure, that it includes all of the actions that comprised your crime, like delivering alcohol to a minor.
Yes.
And isolating her so that you could violate her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you were telling my colleague that you understood the nuances of consent, I wanted to go back to that, because it's not just someone being compromised when they're under the influence and unable to consent because of that, or their consent isn't, as you described, valid. That also applies to people who might be suffering from a mental illness or have a cognitive impairment. Did you know that?
No, ma'am, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're vulnerable and are deemed by our laws to not be capable of consenting because of their impairment, whether it's a mental health issue or another condition. And you were well aware that your victim had a condition, weren't you? Is that why you targeted her?
No, ma'am. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know she had a condition.
Okay. I'm not sure that I buy that, but we'll move on from there. When you were describing your risk factors to my colleague, you talked about, cognitive distortions like minimizing, like, it's not a big deal, or blaming the victim. She came on to you, or she was flirting, or other type things. Then you went on to identify drugs and alcohol as a possible risk factor. And one of the things that stood out for me in both the evaluation of your participation in the short-term program and in the evaluation that was conducted by the Center for Problem Sexual Behavior is your use of pornography. Do you believe that to be a risk factor, sir?
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that. That was also a That's also a risk factor, yes. And it was a big problem in my life.
Okay, well, we don't know that is in the past because you're incarcerated and you have limited access.
I understand.
But anything that you're doing on a daily basis like that, and then you're tying it to sexual fulfillment in real life, you should send up some red flags that that's a concern and something that you're going to need to be working on and vigilant about.
Yes.
So in the sex offender synopsis of your program participation that was written in July of last year, it indicated that part of the program revolved around developing a healthy sexuality plan. Is that something you could share with us?
A healthy sexuality plan?
Mm-hmm. If you don't have one, please don't make one up. I'm just, it was part of the program.
Don't really have one, no.
Okay.
All I could think of is that at the end of the day, because I wasn't thinking about like a plan like that, just more about to use what I have learned to respect and others and to respect their decisions.
And
their
abide by the law.
And abide by the law, absolutely, yes.
And then, daily use of pornography is problematic for you.
Oh yeah, it was something that it was out of control.
Do you think it was to the point of an addiction?
It was an addiction.
Okay.
Same with the drugs and all.
So, whether you go out to discretionary parole or finish your sentence and go out to probation, you're going to be required to continue engaging in problem sexual behavior treatment. And I would encourage you to use that programming to help you address that particular problem.
Yes.
Tell me about this gas station job.
I should be receiving soon a more formal letter from the manager.
What do you understand the job entails?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What do you understand the job entails? What would you be doing?
At the moment, I don't know, but I'm guessing will be to manage the store.
And which store? What location? Do you know?
No. He got multiple locations.
And who is the he that you've referred to? Because I didn't understand it in your statement. Who is your connection to this gas station?
He's an associate.
A friend?
Yes.
All right. Not a family member, a friend.
No, yes. A friend.
How did you meet him?
I met him during my time incarcerated, and he went out. He's out there. He's a manager of a dealership, and he got people that owns other companies such as the couple of gas stations, and he spoke to them, and
Okay.
they're willing
right.
to give me an opportunity.
It's a possible plan. It's through a connection.
Yes.
Okay, but we
Yes.
don't have anything that verifies that. So you know about reentry centers? Have you talked to any of the discharge counselors there?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay, well, reentry centers, they're located all around the state, and they have resources to help connect people with criminal records to employers who are willing to hire. So consider that a resource. With your work background, you might be able to do better than the gas station, but the reentry center can help you determine that.
Reentry center. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to recognize, Mr. Quinones, that aside from the one disciplinary report, you've done pretty well this period of incarceration. You come to us with no criminal history. We often see sex offenders with refusing housing DRs because when it gets out in the population, it can present some problems.
Yes.
In terms of, where you're living in the facility. So that's not that uncommon, but it's unfortunate. You did complete voices, which you have well demonstrated you got something out of. You understand
Yes.
the harm that you caused, trauma, suffering, embarrassment. There's probably a lot of other things, and we might hear about it from the Office of Victim Services in terms of fear, trust issues, that sort of thing. And then you completed the short track sex offender program and have been working in the facility. So those are very positive things. Your eligibility date is this month and your end of sentence is at the end of September of next year. So it would be about 1 year and 8 months of supervision if you were granted. And what stood out for me in the documents that I had to read is that, you did take responsibility. You did apologize at sentencing. And that's important, that you stepped up. You said you knew better, but you wanted to do what you wanted. And you seem to appreciate that that's not a way to go through life. And it's not going to get you very far. So, there are some positives in that, you have new insights and you have accepted responsibility. You seem to understand that you were unlawfully restraining the victim as you perpetrated the crimes against her. So I'm glad we got that cleared up. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you as well. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Sarko?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Quinones, we're done with the questions. We're going to turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services, and we ask you not to speak.
All right.
Ms. Hamlet-Williams?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, panel. I do have the mother of the victim who would like to address the panel today, and she'll be joining us via speakerphone. One moment. Thank you. You may begin with your statement.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mom. Dear members of the Parole Board, I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the early release of Hector Quinones, inmate number 00479.
Can I ask you to speak up, please?
Yes.
We need you to be a little louder. Thank you.
Okay. Dear members of the Parole Board, I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the early release of Hector Quinones, number 004479411, who has been convicted of heinous crimes involving drugging, raping, beating, and holding his own niece hostage. Given the severity of these offenses and the lasting impact they have had on the victim and our family, I urge you to consider the implications of granting him parole. The trauma inflicted upon the victim is immeasurable. Hector's actions have caused immense emotional and physical damage, not only to the victim, but also us, her family. It is essential to recognize that the nature of these crimes demonstrates a profound disregard for human life and safety. Early release would send a troubling message about the consequences of such actions, undermining the justice system's commitment to protecting vulnerable individuals. My daughter, the victim, has struggled since these incidences took place and is still working on healing and finding purpose in her life after loss. Furthermore, I have concerns about Hector's potential for rehabilitation. The violent and predatory nature of his crime suggests that he possesses a significant risk to the community if released prematurely. He was caught this time for his crime, but not the others, as those victims did not want to come forward because of being scared. And these are also other family members. Victims of violent crimes often carry the scars of their experiences for life. And it is crucial that the board prioritizes their safety and well-being over the interests of the offender. I respectfully request that you deny any petition for early release filed by Hector. Justice must be served not only for the victims, but also to uphold the integrity of our legal system. My daughter does not get back everything he took from her. My daughter does not get to reset. My daughter does not get to live outside the emotional, mental, physical prison he built for her. Allowing this individual back into society at this juncture would compromise public safety and betray the trust placed to you to protect those who cannot protect themselves. My daughter deserves to finish her last year in high school knowing she is still safe and protected from this individual. She has already been dealing with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and disassociation thanks to Hector. Not to mention, she's autistic and he knew this. Thank you for considering my concern. I trust that you will make a decision that reflects the gravity of the situation and voices of those affected by these terrible actions. And then I have something my daughter also wrote. Again, she is autistic, so it might be a little all over the place. This is what she wrote to me. Mom, he's only done a year and a half and thinks it's okay to get out for good behavior, in quotations. He shouldn't. He clearly knew what he was doing when everything happened. People didn't come forward to say what they did, what he did to them. Also, just because he's been on the best behavior doesn't mean he should come out. He feels that he's been forgiven and deserves a second chance doesn't mean I got to forget. And how I felt during that day and during that time, it still affects me till this day. I have anxiety attacks, I have panic attacks. And when it comes to certain touches and words, I personally don't feel like he should come out. I'm still trying to recover myself. It still affects me. I still think about it. I smile, I laugh, but deep down inside, I'm hurting. I feel disgusting when anybody touches me or looks at me or says certain things to me. He should stay where he is. I don't want this to happen to anyone else, not to my other cousins. He changed my life immensely. And I don't want others to lose theirs because of a pedophile. He will always be a pedophile. I don't want another 15-year-old girl to go through this. I was 15. I was his niece. He needs to stay where he is and think a lot harder about what he has done and hope that nobody ever does the same thing to him. This is how I feel. This is how I'm thinking. It pisses me off that this is even thought or an option right now. He has destroyed my life. I've been severely depressed in the past, and now I am even more. Please don't let this happen. And that's what she wrote to me.
Disconnected, but I believe that she was completed her statement. Thank you so much, board members.
Thank you. And we thank the victim and the victim's mother for providing that input. At this time, Mr. Quinones, we're going to discuss your case. Please don't interrupt. So Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And certainly, first and foremost, the victim input is important in the case, and to hear lasting impact, which, especially crimes like this have, is really important for me to hear and factor into what the decision is here. Mr. Quinones does not have any criminal history. He has come to prison and engaged in treatment that DOC has to offer regarding sex offender program, the short-term program, which the report says that he engaged fully in the program. And a big piece of that is to also be able to do that in the community. He identified some, although not all of the risk factors that were identified in the report as well. But certainly they did work on that, and in the program for treatment types of people in the community that would continue to work on that. Mr. Quinones also took voices and it was very clear in his opening statement and follow-up that he recognizes you can't put yourself in the place of someone else, but recognizes the severe impact that's happened on the victim, and also identified its victim, the victim's family, his family, the community, and just he said it, even people that he doesn't even know are affected by what he did. He has laid out a plan, a 6-month plan, and which is achievable, something that's achievable. He has would like to go halfway house, and he has his work history is one that's pretty strong. It's not related to people who are minors. He rates out low in the instruments that are provided and low moderate, both of the sex offender evaluations. The only disciplinary report he's received is for his who's common in not okay, but common in a situation like this. I believe that his release to the community and his enrollment while on parole in treatment for problem sexual behavior and being monitored by parole would be suitable in the best interest of public safety. So I would support parole in this case.
Thank you for detailing your decision there. I feel like Mr. Quinones really was cut a break. He got less than 4 years for this crime. He has about 11 years of this sentence hanging over his head when he goes out for probation and 10 years on the sex offender registry. He was out in the community until he was sentenced. So he's been in, as the victims indicated, about 1.5 years. And I can understand why that would feel insufficient for them. Still struggling to navigate life after a crime. Mr. Quinones still has new thoughts on his OAP. And he did indicate to the parole officer in his interview that he thought his sentence was fair. I think it was more than fair. And I would like to see him finish that sentence and go out to probation where he can engage in problem sexual behavior treatment. He can use the remaining time to further develop the release plan with more concrete details, especially with respect to employment. Mr. Sarkoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be denial just based on the nature and circumstances of the offense and the injury to the victim and the family. This is not to take away from the work that Mr. Quinones has been doing, and he's going to come out of this very young, and sure the future ahead of him, and that's just what I am.
Okay. I have nature and circumstance and injury and impact. Okay. So in the matter of Hector Quinones, inmate number 447941, there's a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your offense and the injury and impact caused to the victim and the victim's family. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
So by majority decision, Mr. Quinones, you've been denied early release to discretionary parole. DOC will look at you in May for consideration for their release mechanisms. So we wish you much success when you're back in the community, and keep working on yourself.
Thank you for your time.
This concludes the hearing for Hector Quinones.
I'm going to have to start with Mike Pohl. And when I finish with Mike Pohl, I am going to start with the system, the agenda-driven judges and DAs that have no backbone, that do not care about their constituency. Listening to this parole hearing, listening to Mike Pohl do the interview, it really is, it's so bloody frustrating. You listen to this roach sit there and lie time and time again, right? He even goes on to say, I had no idea that she had a disability, only for us to find out afterwards that she's his niece. You know, it's like the parole board, they needed to really drill in. They needed to go hard. They needed to call him out. Thankfully, we had Mom there to drop a mic after mic to say everything so perfectly and elegantly. And I want to say that when she read her daughter's note, that was perfect. Pedos don't change. Leopards don't change their stripes. And I want, if Mom ever listens to this, if the survivor ever listens to this, I believe in my heart that they kept him locked up until his maximum sentence, which is November 17th, 2027. Otherwise, I do believe this parole board would have granted. We've seen it time and time again. But now, here's the thing with Mike Pohl. You know, it's like Louisiana has a victim's advocate. It was Noe Roche, then now it's Miss Stapleton. And their job on the board is to be there for the victim, for the survivor. That's their role. Mike Pohl, although it's not a designated role, he is clearly there for the monster. He is there to support the monster. No matter how horrible the interview, no matter if he clearly lies, there was nothing that he did that had no redeeming factors. What does this monster do to his autistic niece? Plies her with booze, locks her up, and does the unfathomable? And then we find out that he has multiple victims. And Mike Pohl wants to grant. You know, how can you have someone, a member of the parole board, that will say, I do not care about the victim's suffering. I do not care about their pain. I don't even care when all they ask is, please let her graduate high school before you release him. And he just says, no. How is this a member of the parole board? And it's so clear to anybody who doesn't have the rose-colored glasses on that he has an agenda. His agenda is to empty the prisons at all cost. He does not care about victims. He does not care about survivors. He does not care about the community. He doesn't care about justice. He cares about his own personal agenda. How can someone like that be on the parole board? It's insane. There is no one watching this that hears this hearing, that sees it progress, that hears it go through, that you find out that this evil, serial predator, pedo, and then he sits there and he lists, well, he doesn't have a criminal history. No kidding, Mike Paul. No kidding. How many, do you have any data on chomos? How many chomos do we see have a criminal history? It's insane. 90+% of the time they don't. He engaged in programs. Well, he still had a program left to do, didn't he? On his EOP. So that's like you could easily block that off. You can't have it both ways. If you believe the programs are needed, then he has to stay and finish his programs. You can't have it both ways. He identifies some of his risks. He admitted that he didn't identify all of his risks. He identified some of them. He also took voices, so he recognizes the severity of his crime. And he's laid out a 6-month plan that is achievable. And then he goes on, he's a low to moderate risk in the static 9-9. It was so clear that he had no plan. As soon as a little bit of poking, it's like, oh yeah, this guy I went to prison with, he's a manager. He said, I'll manage the place. So, to me, that doesn't make a difference. This guy is a roach. He shouldn't get out. But I'm just saying, even if you want to put on the rose-colored glasses and try to sit in Mike Paul's corner, it's still BS. It still falls apart. There's still nothing there. He wants to overlook all of that for his own agenda. And it's crazy. I don't know if it's evil. I don't know what it is. But it's so bizarre because in his mind, I know he goes to sleep at night. He sleeps great. He, in his mind, as he sits there with his buddies, sipping their frappuccinos or $15 lattes, and he tells them, "I'm changing the world. I have empathy for the chomos. I know that they can change." And it's like, and he's virtue signaling, and he feels good about himself. And how can you do that when you just heard true emotion from the mother, when you heard and felt the words of pain inside your heart, if you have one, and he throws all of that aside to see what he wants to see for his agenda so he can virtue signal. And I've seen his Twitter account. I think he deleted it recently because the whole thing. But he used to post all the time this stuff. He's one of those guys posting all the time. He's probably on the other, whatever it's called, the other Twitter now. And now let's talk about the system. The system says this person is a low to moderate risk. Can you imagine? Why would a serial chomo, who really can't get worse than this, his own niece, autistic, kidnaps her, drugs her, and he's low to moderate, and he only needs to register for 10 years. 10 years. He's today. He's 30, I don't know, 30 something years old. 33 years old or something. So I guess we don't really know that well. I guess at 43 years old, when he is not considered a sex offender anymore, he's going to be safe. Can you even imagine that? Can you imagine that when he's 43 years old, because Connecticut also wipes out the records, that he'll be able to mentor children? That he'll be able to do anything involved with children? They're literally, the judge and DA is literally complicit in the next victims that he creates. There's no other way to look at it. They give him what they call it, they give him a 45-month sentence. Strangely, they give him probation for 15 years. He has 5 years more probation than his sex offender registry, which just goes to show, like, it doesn't even, like, even none of it makes sense, because how could, and he's arrested on 1/1 of 2023. He pleads guilty to SA of a victim 13 to 15. He's fined a whopping $151. He's sentenced to 15 years jail, which is a gimmick. They do that to gaslight us. I feel 100% confident that the DA sat in front of the mother and said, we're sentencing him to 15 years. I am confident that they had no understanding that they would be sitting here at his parole hearing. They sentenced him on 4/10 of 2024 within a year and a half. There's no way they knew. He sentenced 4/10/2024. They allow him out on probation the entire time, right? On bond. So he's not in jail. He's not serving time. And they suspend everything but 45 months, which is 3 years and 9 months. Again, they use 45 months, I think, to more gaslighting. It's harder for people to do math. So 3 years and 9 months. Parole eligibility after serving half of it, which is what we just saw. What this means is that the DA that gave this deal would have known, if they're paying any attention, that she would have come up for parole while this girl is still in high school. It's we live in a broken system. It's like the world is broken, and it has insults. And it's like, who's there to protect us? Who's there to ensure that evil is locked away? It's not the judges. We know that. It's not the district attorneys. We know that. And in some cases, even here, a parole board member was advocating for his release. He had a horrendous parole hearing. He lied at every turn. He had no fake insight. Like, I for even those, because I don't believe, even had he had a good hearing, I would have felt the same way. Because it's just manipulative. You can't just, a couple of years ago do this, find out you have all these victims, and then you're cured from programs. No, it's just, you're manipulative. Like the survivor said, pedos never change. But there are those that watch this channel that don't believe that. There are those that say, oh no, he changed. Oh. I wonder, and for those, you can't even make that excuse. It's just, and when all of us sit here, and it's the majority, I think it's got to be at least 99% of people watching this. I know there are a few PhDs that watch this that won't feel this way. Maybe a couple judges and lawyers for some reason like to come on here, and maybe they get off to seeing victims cry. But for everybody else, we just sit here and we say, this is insane. How do you sleep at night? And they would have had the information. They would have had in the PSI that there were allegations of other victims. And instead, they dropped charges. They could have gotten, let me hold on one second. Let me tell you how much he could have gotten just on some of the charges which they gave the plea deal for. Well, hold on. Okay, so a class so here I just looked it up. For the essay, he could have gotten him between 1 and 20 years. So they had him for 20 years there. And for the kidnapping, they could have gotten him for up to 20 years as well. So it's in 40 years. And then there's like everything else. It's a little confusing. But while I was looking this up, I re-listened to his opening remarks and I just realized what a sick F. He says in his opening remarks that he wants to get out so he can be the best uncle that he can be for his nephews. So this uncle does this to his niece, and then he says he wants to be the best uncle. It's so twisted. It's so insanely sick. And then you realize that there are probably family members that are supporting him, right? Which just makes him just enables him more. This is so I know I'm just venting right now, but I there we go. There we go. We have it. I don't know what else there is to say. There's nothing else to say. We live in an insane world. This monster, but at least this monster now, his crimes will be known. His crimes will be seen. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't demonetize this because that suppresses it and then no one sees it. They like to do that. YouTube has its own agenda. You know, YouTube has its own agenda. But we're trying, we're fighting back one little bit at a time. There's something I've been thinking of lately. I don't know if I should do this or not, but it would be like a startup. And what it would be is that it would be a website that would track all the DAs and all the judges. And it'd be very simple. It'd be like a baseball card. You have the front of the card, you have the picture, the name of the DA, and the back you have his record. And it's not the win-loss record that they like to show off, because that's just ridiculous. That's part of the problem. But it would say how many Chomo plea deals they gave. How many, it would show the stuff that matter. And then we'd make that public and the whole world can see it. And when anyone goes up for re-election, they go to the website. It's very easy. Psh, wow, he gave all these Chomos these kind of plea deals. Do I really want to elect that guy? And it's hard to do. I spoke to Sir Richard about it. It's very difficult because the data is every state is different than within every state, every city, and then within a county, and then that, and it's like crazy. And how you would get to this fragmentized world of data, this, and easy, that is a huge problem. But maybe with AI, it'd be, I don't know, but it's something that's been running through my head because it's just like this is a story that needs to be told. And right now, it's not. And because of that, we have evil, agenda-driven folks that are releasing disgusting monsters back into society over and over and over again. And there you go. I'll leave you with the final words from the survivor.
I was 15. I was his niece. He needs to stay where he is and think a lot harder about what he has done and hope that nobody ever does the same thing to him. This is how I feel. This is how I'm thinking. It pisses me off that this is even thought or an option right now. He has destroyed my life. I've been severely depressed in the past, and now I am even more. Please don't let this happen. And that's what she wrote to me.